Hey guys, I'm Tony Dane, and I play Tasslin on Demon Days, an actual play podcast. Special thanks to Gordon McAlpin for creating the artwork for our show, and to ArcKnight for providing us with minis and props for our tables. That's ARCKNIGHT. And a hearty thanks to you, our audience, for your support. I really hope you like this week's episode. Now, on with the show.
Across the land of Aldarian, there's an old saying, Dis donat efta gutena ricta, which roughly translates to, Destiny is a trickster god. There are moments in time where the hand of this mischievous entity can be felt, gifting the careful and attuned observer a look at the things that were, the things that are, and the things that have yet come to pass. One such convergence of destiny can be found in the Jabberwocky's Jollies, a soggy tavern deep within the Dominion-controlled river city of Zentris. You can find this criminal hotspot by locating a tucked-away alcove hidden within the river channel that bisects the city. It's the perfect place to dabble in a bit of the clandestine, and in this particular case, witness the work of destiny itself. In the farthest and darkest corner of this tavern sit 4 tiefling, each with an ale in hand, and each feeling the pull of fate. They're joined by a new friend, a bullywug, carrying with him at least 4 more ales. He sets them down at his portion of the table and begins to drink them like a thirsty man in a desert. After finishing them all, he looks to the weary tiefling and greets them with a twinkle in his eye and an inkling that their friendship is the work of something bigger than themselves.
Hail and well met! My name is Federico Tiffany Magma the Sixth, but you can call me Tom. Goodness, look at the state of you. You guys look like you have a hell of a story. Grab a chair.
Well met, friend. I see a prepared round for everyone as promised, so I guess I'll start us off. As we awoke, we believe, in judging the time it took us to finally exit, in the highest peak of Gris Norvald, all of us immediately tried to gather our wits. There was a mixture of distrust and all-out wonder at our location and predicament. We were shackled, each of us across from one another at the 4 corners of a large devilish altar. The domed chamber we were trapped in was decorated in motifs depicting the blood war, devils and demons battling. On the ground around us was the remnants of an actual battle, heroes and cultists fallen in combat, even a Barnacle. I myself had been freed by one of these heroes before he passed, and I rose to help the others. Yes, Tasslin, and then I slipped trying to help Feder out of his cuffs, we know. To our surprise, we discovered that we were all tiefling. The room was sealed, but after investigating some of the bodies, Lisa found that the pillars in the dome could be spun to unlock the doors on either side. One doorway opened to a stairwell, which led to a hallway of cells that continued on to some type of laboratory. The cells contained other prisoners, some unrecognizable. Others, an Aasimar woman, on which we found a locket that we would later find belonged to Talia Medusa, a Dragonborn, and a Gnoll, who actually was the only other being we found alive in the main chambers of the mountain. He soon passed. We then searched the lab. Aside from the remains of a magical standoff, we found journals cataloging experiments showing that we had been tested, or rather our blood had been tested, for our lineage. We had been chosen for our blood's compatibility for something to do with the room above. Through the other door, we weaved a path through the wake of even more carnage, more bodies, another Barnacle, which by all accounts seemed to be felled by the Aasimar atop it. On its body we found what looked to be a writ of some kind, which we could not read. The Aasimar, no, not the Barnacle. Continuing on, we saw more artistic renderings of the blood war raging on the walls around us. In the adjoining room, we came upon a collection of imp sculptures holding vials of our own blood and having corresponding features to the four of us. When removed, it created a type of one-way breach, closing the door behind us and opening the one in front. As we passed through this portal into the next area, we found ourselves in an open cavern, walking out of the carved face of a devil's mouth. Not far from the opening, we were met with blackness. Blackness that we could not pierce with our natural dark vision. Taslin worked out a way through the dark from an old dialect of Infernal written on the wall, once again using our blood to activate. We walked a path of light through the blackness, which led to another staircase, which led to yet another hallway. This extremely long hallway was filled with statues of demons and devils ordered by rank and house. I did not pay much attention to the statues myself, but the others seemed intrigued by them. After a while, we came upon gnolls coming out of a crevice in the wall. The sound of battle could be heard ahead, which the gnolls feverishly joined, completely unaware of our presence. So, Feder investigated, and discovered a group of Aasimar fighting their way towards our position. We engaged the gnolls from their flank and ended the encounter, although not without casualties. After the skirmish, we spoke with the Aasimar. They questioned us about an earthquake in the mountains and a green light bursting from the peak. We ended amicably, and were pointed towards a small way station at the base of the mountain. Lisa, would you care to continue?
So, after we got out of that crazy mountain, Brenthel Vash, the Aasimar guy that we met, he told us about this haberdashery, Tilda's. It was like 2 days' journey from the mountain, which was miserable. None of us are really built for or used to the cold, and we didn't have any winter gear. Thank God our skin stays hot. Apparently it's a tiefling thing. Anyway, we get to the haberdashery, and it's a pretty eclectic group. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but it definitely wasn't a drow woman as Tilda, you know? Especially because the guy said she was so hospitable, and this lady seemed a little cold. Anyway, she had a group with her that was like a red-headed lady, and this half-orc, and this really creepy dude in the hat, and some other dude. The guy in the hat gave us some stew, and he had a weird energy about him. He was like way too eager. It was odd. Anyway, so Taslin has these cards. They're called tarot cards, and I guess they can answer people's questions. She and Feder were playing, I guess that's what you call it. I don't know. They were talking to the cards, or however they work. I don't know. And the drow lady, she's like, I want a reading. And it turns out she's a crazy murderer, and the cards straight up told us. She attacked, and we attacked back. Yusuf, had his hammer ready. It was really cool. And Taz was ready. I don't even know. These people are so much better at listening to cards than I am. But it got wild. The drow had some magic darkness that was basically impenetrable, and she, poofed that on half the room. But it also means that I missed some of what Taslin and Yusuf were up to, but I know that they fought, really hard. Anyway, I kind of got out of the darkness and fought this half-orc woman, and it got pretty hairy. We were just exchanging blows. She's a lot bigger than me, and I was so tired. Feder was sneaking under tables, stabbing people, and he killed the half-orc, trying to take credit for all my hard work. Or, to be helpful, but probably just trying to take credit. I don't think he's, the most helpful. Anyway, Yusuf fought really hard and went down, which was really scary since I don't know how to fix wounds like he does, but I really, really tried. He's a good dude. Taz said she didn't know anything about medicine, but it turns out she actually does, so I think she was either, really scared or really distracted, but it's okay. Anyway, she also fought off the drow and the other woman, and she managed to make a spear from magic, or, maybe it was from her raven, but, everything just, pops out of her hand, and it's so cool, and she pinned the woman to the door. It was amazing. The redheaded woman, not the drow, but, still really, really cool. Anyway, we got Yusuf stabilized, and we cleaned things up a bit, and we looked for the real Tilda. We found her in her cellar with her brothers, who had all unfortunately been killed. I think they might have also unfortunately been in the stew. I helped her clean up because she recognized us, and she actually seemed pretty happy to see me. It turns out she'd seen us all on our way to the mountain in that time that none of us remember. She and I had totally meditated together once before, and she had notes about each of us seeming distant and odd in her journal. She also drew pictures of Taz and I, which were really flattering. She seemed like she needed some company, so I spent the night with her. The next day, she got us hooked up with supplies, including this weird bean water that Feder likes so much. It's pretty bitter. I don't even know. This guy's so weird. Anyway, the criminals had their bounty papers on them, so we decided to head to the city of Trost to make some money and maybe see if there's any answers. It's where Brenthel was from, and he had been sent, so maybe someone had more knowledge than we did. I don't know. Anyway, we had to cross a river, which was rather precarious, especially in the cold and ice, and then spend a couple more nights camping. The cloaks definitely helped, but it was still, just miserable. I was on watch, and I got a little lost in my meditation, and the sky split open, and I didn't even notice until these two creatures started coming through this tear. Feder said, oh my gosh, he would kill me for telling you that I heard this from him, but he told me that they're called maw demons. I woke up everyone as quickly as I could, and we fought them off. But punching them, it was so weird. When I touched them, we kicked their butts, but every time I punched them, it sent me into this really awful place in my head. It was like the feeling of loneliness and despair that happened when my dad died. Yusuf felt it too. And Feder fell in the fire during the fight, which was sucks to suck. But then he looked really cool flinging knives when he stood up in the fire to help us. So, that's alright, I guess. Anyway, we all calmed down and we made it to Trost the next day, but seriously, the sky splitting, that was so weird.
The gates to Trost were daunting. I'm not sure how the others felt about the large, intricate gates blocking the way into the city, but I wasn't a fan. I tend to have complicated relationships with cities. Well, the guards were obviously suspicious of us from the beginning. We weren't initially welcomed at the gates. Definitely not warmly. It took me dropping that drought's head at their feet and Feder displaying the bounty for them to even start listening. Yusuf gave the name of Brenthal Vash as a way to lower their suspicions, and it was a good idea at first. But then he kept talking. He still gives up far too much information, doesn't he? Oh, stop scowling, Feder. This isn't the same. Anyway, that's when we met Triss. Oh, Triss, the human female in a sea of Aasimar. She gave us the general specifics of the city. This level here, the religious stuff there, you can't go higher than this level, yada, yada, yada. We got off on the wrong foot when we first met, though, she and I. I wasn't fond of how she spoke of the city outsiders. It was like she considered us trash. And apparently, my scowl put some fear into her. After that, well, she led us to the Heavenly Rest, where we could, rest until the bounty was paid. She thought leaving us alone for hours was harmless. She also had the best hair, can I say? Yarvish was the name of the young man who greeted us at the inn. Wonderful Yarvi gave us rooms after we signed the guest book. Well, since we were left waiting for the bounty, we decided to venture out into the city. Yarvi pointed us to the Maiden of Storms, where they reportedly had good ale and entertainment. And that's where we met the Barnacle. But that's a story for another time. And far more libations.